Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com. And we're also coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous audio and video platforms, syndicated radio podcast networks, 26 global audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud. I had to take a breath on that one. SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher, many, many more. I'm not going to bore you with all of them. In fact, we're voted #1 caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, #2 on FeedSpot, and #2 on caringvillage.com. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. Dr. Darius, no, you're not a doctor, are you?
Yeah, I am. Actually, I am.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah, so.
Dr. Darius Ross. You see, I'm a psychic in my spare time and a discerning Christian. Okay, Darius Ross is a 35-year veteran of entrepreneurship and real estate, brokerage, sales, property management, and acquisition, real estate investing too, whose life's path has gone from inner city struggles, including poverty, violence, eviction, and foreclosure, wow, to the corporate suites. Great success story. Along the way, through those struggles, he used those guerrilla traditional skills to create a lucrative business and become a philanthropist and social activist. That's an awful lot of stuff on your resume there, buddy. But before we get started, I want to take this moment to thank my last week's guest, Philip Walter Smith. Just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of those other global platforms I mentioned earlier. All right, enough of that. Darius, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We're so excited to have you on.
It is my pleasure, Mr. Nasty. I appreciate it.
Hey, I always like to ask my guests just who is Darius Ross and why was he placed on this earth? So go ahead and take that one.
Darius Ross is an entrepreneur that got involved in real estate at a very young age. Due to
How young?
We'll call it 18. Due to the fact that at the end of the day, it was unemployment. So that was the next creative endeavor to actually pursue. With that in mind, created all different types of avenues of what I want to call guerrilla strategies, because I began with one property, $100 down. And at the time, it was nothing more than a leg and a kickstand. It literally had to be propped up to keep it functioning. So with that in mind, I began a real estate career. First year real estate, made no money, absolutely none. So it's the funniest story, because I realized I was not a real estate agent. I could be an investor. So from that led to all the other avenues.
Oh. What city did you do all this in?
Chicago. And then I ended up downstate.
Chicago. Wow.
Sir.
And what years was this? Where I'm sure you were in the middle of a real estate boom, because it's a lot harder to make money in a real estate crash, isn't it? Unless you're buying at the end, going through the rubble.
Actually, it wasn't. It was the 1980s, 83, 84, 85, and this was not a good time.
So what were you doing? Picking up bargains and fixing them, flipping them?
Well, this was right before Resolution Trust and when they had the S&L crisis. So I was in the midst of the crisis and the nightmare. So I think you remember how that was. It wasn't nice.
There have been so many crises, and they each have a different name.
That's right.
I was caught up in the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis. Mm-hmm. But that's another story.
Yeah, I experienced that too.
Let's talk about what your life was like before elder care. Corporate entrepreneurship. It all ended when you became a caregiver.
It was a situation of, it was a choice. It was either A, become a caregiver, or B, you've got somebody that's going to actually have no one to take care of them, because everybody family-wise was all out of state. So now you're it.
You're the blessed one.
Well, it was.
And who was this again? Was this a parent?
It was my mother.
Yep. Your mother.
It was a blessing and a lesson, and then it became my father, so it became both.
Are they still with us or they're
Yes.
gone?
Yes, you are.
Wow. You're such
That's
a
right.
good caregiver. You kept them alive, huh?
Yeah, like I said, it was wondering about whether I was going to stay alive or not. That's challenging. Believe me, the challenges of it all.
So are you still doing financially well, or did things suffer by you becoming a caregiver, which is typical?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of suffering because at the end of the day, you know, you've got these opportunities. And see, I was part of that 2007 crisis and the 2000 crisis. And the point of it was the crises are opportunities. And see, in this business, if you miss a mark,
right,
that's it. You know, so I look at it and I always say, if I had not missed that mark based upon the caregiving principle, I would have been a multi-billionaire.
You were distracted.
That's a nice word for
Say
it.
the least.
That's a nice word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you and I have something in common. We both lost millions in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invested in all the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was coming. I've warned people for like 3 years. And after about 3 years, I said, well, maybe I'm wrong. And as soon as I went in with both feet, that's the case, isn't it? You buy a stock and immediately goes down. You buy some real estate and immediately you go into a crash. It's like always on the wrong end of the stick. But I'm ready for it this time. I know they didn't do anything to fix it. They threw fake money at it in real estate and in the stock market. And they're doing well, right? Well, that's because there's inflation. That's where all the fake money goes. And I'm waiting for the bubble. I don't care how long I have to wait. I am not investing in real estate or the stock market until it happens. But crypto, that's another thing. I like crypto. What's your opinion of crypto?
See, the thing about crypto and real estate, they're one and the same, because at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to replace money. That's a fact. Crypto in its own nature is a beautiful thing in the sense that the way it was started as another currency, and the people that were using it, it was a smart move because they can move money around, you know, independently. Sure. Now, will the central banks actually adapt it at some point in time? Yes, but it will eliminate the common man from using it. See, now they're using the drill. I call them the common guy. It's like, okay, we're going to let them play with it. When we're tired of them playing with it, we're going to get them out of the market, period.
Yeah. Well, the smart common guys are hanging on to it, like you know, 10 years, 20 years, giving it to their kids. And that's smart because, you know, it's like real estate. You see real estate go down 50%. But if you have the resources and the time and you're young enough and you hang on to it, it'll come back. They all come back, right?
That's right.
Somebody's got to make the money. And if we can just tag along and don't fear and buy low, sell high instead of buy high, sell low.
That's it.
All right.
And that's the problem with the whole process. It's like crypto now, like real estate, they're in the same mindset. It's like, you know, the amateurs, if you want to call it that, are going to bail out the moment it gets hot.
Right.
And there are a lot of amateurs that don't really understand this business.
There are. And they do it with real estate, they do it with the stock market, and they'll probably do it with crypto. But see, I've learned I'm not going to do that. I'm 68, but I still got a good 10 years on me, I think.
That's right.
And I got kids and grandkids and great grandkids. So I'm okay. And I have peace that passes all understanding. Now let's get back to caregiving. That's a little free financial. It's not advice because we're not allowed to do that, but you know, caregivers are generally suffering from finances because they neglect their job or their business, etc. And I'm sure you have no regrets, right?
I'll take a deep breath. Yes.
Let's just say it's a mixed bag. You know, obviously you're having a time. It's a tough time caring for your parents. I know. I cared for mine, and because once they're gone, they always say, "Oh man, I miss them." You know, I cherish the time we had together, and this and that. And while they were alive, you know, you were pulling your hair out.
See, I say it's a mixed bag of tricks for all the caregivers out there, which I give applause to, because this is not an easy job and it's not very simple, because a lot of it has to do with, if this were happening and I had another me, I could be doing both, right? Yeah. So you're thinking like that. And the financial aspect of it is you're still thinking of, wow, the things I could be doing if I was not doing this, you know, the things that could have happened. And it's that hindsight. So I would definitely say that at the end of the day, yes, you appreciate the fact that most of my friends' parents are dead. But it's that moment of you realize
Yeah,
So it's
it's
there.
easy for regret and bitterness to creep in, and resentment, But if caregivers just take care of themselves, though, if they just learn how to put their oxygen mask on first, they could kind of do both. There's signs of deterioration. I like to call that burnout. Talk about your burnout or your deterioration, as you put it. What happened? How long did it take? And how did you recover from it?
You have to get in the mindset of reality check. You have to really be honest with yourself. That's the first part, that you can't do what you can't do. And then you have to really get honest with yourself on the financial aspect and let it go, because you really have to get real with the fact that these moments, because finances and business, and especially when you're in entrepreneurship, which I'm sure you can appreciate, when you're an entrepreneur, things don't happen like they happen for the normal guy that's working every day. You get a break, and then you may not get another break for 4 or 5 years. And it's super huge what these opportunities are. So as a result, when you come to grips with the deterioration of what has actually happened, when you really sit down and say, okay, I did this for this reason because I'm making sure that this person is going to be safe and okay. Then in the hindsight of it, you look at what you missed out on, because you might see one of your peers taking advantage of it. And then it becomes the envy, the frustration, and all those things. So what it was for me was really waking up and realizing there's going to be a tomorrow. That's the hard part, that there's going to be a tomorrow and that you can recover from it. And more importantly speaking, it's that bottom out principle. Caregivers have to bottom out.
Yeah, that's true. Just like a drug addict, right?
A
lot of similarities. The good news for you, though, Darius, is that you won't have to wait too long for the next opportunity.
No.
Right? It's coming.
No.
I'm surprised it's not here yet. And it's coming. You've seen it. It's 2008, deja vu all over again. And hopefully you can get your hand on some money to take advantage of it after it happens. But you can always make money, right? Just start a business in your garage or on the computer or something. You're a smart guy. You can figure it out.
See, the thing about 2022 is, when we're looking at this helicopter money, as we want to call it, the funny part about this whole thing of it is that no one's really looking at the fact that it was the same thing in 1928. Before 29's crash, it was just the roaring 20s.
Roaring 20s.
And it came to an end. The difference of this is this has been going on 20 some plus years. And they never fixed 2007-8. Right. They never fixed the 90s. And they never fixed the 2000s. So now we're going to be facing something much bigger. And from the caregiver perspective, if you're in that arena, you have a situation, which is this baby boomers, right? And there's 75 million of them. Okay, so that's a profit area. But on the other hand, if you're the one that's in that arena, you're not looking at it as profit. You're looking at it as, wow, this is a struggle. That's a thing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So let's talk about determining whether you can handle 24-hour care, because there's got to be a time in every caregiver's life where, they're getting 2 hours rest every single day or night. And your loved one all of a sudden needs 24-hour care. I mean, you need to get up every 2 hours to turn them over so they don't get bed sores or whatever. When do you decide that you can't handle this anymore? And those promises you made, I'll never put you in a nursing home, because they made you say that. I say change that promise and say, listen, I made a bad promise. I'm going to renege on it. And here's my new promise. I will give you the best care possible. So what's your philosophy on determining when it's time to transition into a facility?
The moment when you go in the bathroom, you look in the mirror and you go, oh!
Well, that happens every day, though.
No. That moment really gets serious when you look at that and you say to yourself, you're opening up the medicine cabinet and you want to take the whole bottle of Prozac.
This was before you had gray hair, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. At that point in time, it's time when you realize that you have gone to a point where there's nowhere else to go for you.
So tell me what that's like for you. You looked in the mirror, you realized it had to happen. Realizing it and doing it are two separate things, aren't they?
Absolutely.
One is easy and one is hard. So how'd you do it? How'd you do the hard one?
The hard part of it is being able to say, now it's time that you have to leave this house.
Guilt was involved, was it?
Oh, that's not even an underestimation. It's not even guilt. It's a matter of the promise that you made.
Yeah.
You made a promise that it would never happen. And now you're looking at attrition. You're looking at the fact that nobody else is around. You're looking at nobody wants to turn around and agree to it, because what family does is they automatically take sides. No, you shouldn't do this. No, but you're the only one doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to the rescue. So I say when help's not coming, that's when you have to make a decision.
Yeah. So how vocal were your loved ones in being demanding, or were they just quiet and gentle and whatever you say, son?
No, it was very opinionated, very bold, very, how do I want to say it, antagonistic. So this was a war.
So they were biting the hand that feeds them, is how I like to put it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the
So
time.
how'd you handle that? With some tough love, or did you just kind of roll over and play dead?
I'd say that most caregivers now, they have to appreciate the magical moment of what I say. It's either you or them.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
That's right.
Because you might not, and this is the strange thing about it, there are more caregivers like doctors that are in the suicidal range and or in the range of hurting themselves or the need of mental illness. So you have to make the decision. It's either you or them, because you got no options now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What services and resources do you need to make that smooth transition? And, give me some details about your transition, what exactly you did, because there's many people listening who are in this position. And I mean, they'd rather die than put their loved one in a facility. They know that they're going to die. And let's face it, if parents really knew how serious this was, how bad a shape they were in, the caregiver, they wouldn't want their child to sacrifice their death for theirs. You wouldn't want to sacrifice your life for them. You wouldn't want to put your kids through what you're going through. That's why smart ones get, a long-term care policy, so that this will never happen to them. Should we communicate better to the parents? Some tough love, some tough words that, hey, I'm about to lose it. And if I'm gone, somebody's going to put you in a facility, and it probably won't be a good facility. So you better let me do it, because at least I care about you. Is that kind of a good scenario, or how does that compare with yours?
The conversation should start at about 60, to be very honest with you. If you have adult kids, it should start about 60.
While
with
they're
estate
healthy.
planning.
Yes.
That's right. Estate planning, caregiving, and so forth. That's the part I missed. That's right. That's the part I missed. Not only in writing, but the bottom line of it is making sure that you understand what your role has to be.
Yeah. 60
to 70, 70 to 80. Because if you wait too late, you're going to have someone that the courts have to make a decision for.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother ball game.
You know how old I started telling my loved ones, my children, at 4 years old, I says, now someday, honey, you're going to have to change not grandpa's, but daddy's diaper. Now I tell my grandchildren, you have to change grandpa's diaper, as I'm helping you out with your car, as I'm, paying for your new business, as I'm doing all this stuff. One day you're going to have to be taking care of me. Just a little bit of guilt doesn't hurt.
Agreed.
But, it has to be a mindset. When daddy gets old, when grandpa gets old, when grandma gets old, you move them in and you take care of them. And when you can't take care of them anymore, you put them in a really nice facility. They know I've got long-term care. I got a really nice policy, pays a lifetime of $400,000. I could go to Malibu, and that's right on the beach here in California, if you don't know where Malibu is.
Oh, yeah.
And so now they're joking around with me. It says, we're going to put you in Pacoima, because it's a very poor neighborhood, because you may not even know you're in. We'll just tell you you're in Malibu.
That's right.
And she's a good point.
But that's the whole point. That pre-planning ahead goes into not only when you're looking at it from a young adults, but it's like as young college people, or millennials, if you want to call it that. Millennials now have to sit down with their parents and say, while you're spending all this money on other activities and endeavors, start investing in the future, because this is being honest here. Sometimes you may not want to be that designated person.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of you being able to realize they may not want that role.
Yeah. And many of these parents own their homes outright. They paid off that 30-year mortgage a long time ago. Yeah. And you can sell it, put them in a nice facility. And, if they're if they're a veteran, or the spouse of a veteran, they can get some aid and assistance. Many of them will pay for assisted living.
That's right.
And you can have your hands on that cash to invest when, you're the next opportunity in real estate or the stock market comes around, and it's a win-win. And many times I recommend get your loved one qualified for Medicaid, which is the golden ticket, Medicare, Medicaid. Mm-hmm. Anybody will take her.
That's right.
So I like the way you call that a home evacuation.
It has to be, because at the end of the day, you cannot sit there and wait for something to go wrong, because it's like a military drill. You've got to be able to be smart enough to say, listen, you don't move a little bit out here and there and you're trying to nudge them out. Like, listen, this is the drill. Today is it. We're going to be leaving here. You can no longer mow the grass. You can no longer shovel the snow. You no longer can pay taxes. You no longer can afford the heating in here, because exactly as they get older, there's a need for heat greater because they're getting cold. So these things have to happen, and you can't turn around and be nice about it necessarily. Sometimes you got to do the push and shove. This has got to happen. Yeah.
Have you written a book?
I do.
What's the name of the book?
The book now is dealing with elder care and young people surviving elder care. So we're playing with the titles right now. It's due out in November.
Oh, great. So, of course, we're talking about adult proofing the house, if they're still in the house, and health concerns, protecting the home and all that stuff. Do you practice what you preach? You've done all this yourself?
Every single day.
So are your parents in a facility now?
No. They're in adult care.
They're in adult care. Okay. So they don't need a facility yet.
No.
Is that when you say adult care, are we talking about independent living or assisted living?
Independent living.
Independent living. Okay.
So they're around other adults that are the same age. And so they have a population.
And that's a great place to put them. And then if things get worse, then you move it up to assisted living. Things get worse, you may have to go to, a skilled nursing facility, a nursing home, etc. But you take them in steps. Did you sell the house? Did you get them approved for Medicaid?
That was one of the first things that was most important, was the Medicare and Medicaid, because at the end of the day, at that time, the salaries they were making were not, of the level that they would actually have to qualify, because there's a look back time period. Yeah. Very important with the assets. So
that's
it's
like, so the sooner the better.
Understand that. That's right.
Because they can't pay their bills anymore. I have an aunt who just came down with dementia. She's always kind of had it, but a lot of people who are dingy and airhead, no disrespect intended. It's hard to understand when they're moving into dementia, because they always act that way. But when they do crazy things like, she went to pay the rent and she didn't know how to fill out the check. And she was asking them, where does your name go? And they looked at her and says, "You're kidding, right?" And so now they know there's a problem. And so fortunately, she found herself a boyfriend in this independent living. And so they're living together now. And so they're not going to evict her because she's not alone. So you got to, get what you can get when you can get it. And hopefully she'll be with it. It's so funny to see two elderly people. He's 89, she's 84, act like junior hires who are in love, So both your parents are still alive, yes?
They are. Yes, sir.
Okay. So how's your finances? Better?
It has rebounded tremendously, with this whole market now. So I've done well with the real estate business, but it's just a matter of, I took a significant hit, and, that hit was so benevolent that I'll never forget it. So, when I look at the market now coming back, I remember what it was like. And so that is the precautionary to understand, like you're saying, this is a timing thing now. But I remember that it wasn't millions with a one, it was a millions with some zeros, because you said, whoa, because at that time, leverage was a beautiful thing.
My home in Southern California, Los Angeles, I've been watching go up 20% a year, higher than the national average. And I remember that happened a couple of times in my lifetime. And whenever you list a home for sale, there's 4 or 5 buyers who are outbidding it, and it sells for above the listing price. I'm seeing it again and again and again. And this is just like writing on the wall, deja vu, red flags. It's coming. This can't go on forever. So,
Well, here's a
Prepare
caveat to it.
Yeah.
Real estate never goes up more than 1 to 3% a clip per year.
Right.
So we're looking at now, in some cases, the market value of some of these homes that are 3, 4, 5 times. A house that may be worth 200,000 is now worth 8. Unheard of. So people are not even realistic about this.
All right. Well, I really, we could talk for another hour, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. So give us information on how to get a hold of you, how to get the book when it comes out, et cetera, when people want to know more, because you're a very smart guy.
They can reach me at DariusARoss.com or DariusRoss.com. The book information is on there for the e-commerce site, and then all the other information, consulting, coaching, everything else is on the site.
Did you say aross.com?
DariusARoss.com or DariusRoss.com. I've got all the domains.
You got them all.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And just a reminder, you can watch or listen to this interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of our 26 global networks I mentioned earlier, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, etc. If you have been tuning in every single week, we certainly appreciate you. I just want to say we'll see you next week, same time, same channel. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Dave Nassaney, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com. Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial, I don't believe this is happening, anger, oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening, to a form of bargaining, how can I get out of this, to depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide. And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.